Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
No problem, Andrew.
This interview is for Business Advantage PNG. And I was we might start with your speech this morning at the conference, the mining conference. You drew people's attention to your original agenda, your original Take Back PNG agenda.
Sure.
And you invited them to compare your statements when you first came to office with what your government has achieved in the meantime. Where would you see the achievements that you're most proud of over the period of time you've been in power, in the office?
Well, it has been a work in progress for us. Since we came into office, our agendas were fixed. And 4 years on, going 5 now, we have proven that no investors have run out, except that they've come in. In the face of what may seem like a hard nationalist view, but far from the truth. It's not a conversation that ignores our investors and the place to make money in PNG. As I said in my session today, that they are not charities. They need to make profit for their shareholders. And so knowing this, striking a balance where there's a fair return on investments. Papua New Guinea has been a mining and oil and gas nation for so long, yet the level of, in my view, lifestyle in Papua New Guinea does not depict clearly a country that is an oil and gas and mining nation. There's room for improvement, but not at the expense of our investors not making profit, simply put. And so 4 years on, no investors have left our country except they've come in. We've seen the latest coming into our economy by Newmont that have subsumed Newcrest. We've also seen Santos subsuming oil since that transaction happened under my watch. If they had no faith in the economy, those transactions would not take place. And not just the economy, but the mainstream structure of government, our country's laws, and our public policies. We've also seen outside of the oil and gas and mining sector, we've seen Telstra, for instance, has come into the picture. A big telco company that came in and around the last 4 years. These all happen at the backdrop of the COVID-19 induced shutdown. 1 year in that 4 year was totally non-accidental in as far as commercial activity is concerned. COVID-19 did shut down planet Earth, including Papua New Guinea. And the rebounding of our economy in 2021 and 2022, we had to also live in with the imported inflation caused by the Russia-Ukraine conflict and all the global economic shocks. Despite the 4 years of what, in my view, was 4 tough years for our country, we have kept our heads above waters, so to speak. And in that 4 years, we have not been silent. We've been working with our investors. I had 5 projects running that were tracking at different negotiation stages. And famously known, my 4 Ps and 1 W. First P for Papua LNG, second P for Pinyang, third P for Pasca in the oil and gas sector and in the mining sector, fourth P for Pogra, Restartup, and Wafi Golpo. I gave an indication today there's a second W and possibly a third W. Yeah. I think Exxon did indicate the second
wildebeest.
Wildebeest. Yeah. And so what's going to happen? And if you, I think Andrew, you were not in the room when ANZ, there was an ANZ presenter who spoke, the last speaker today, I was there. He basically affirmed what I sort of brushed through earlier today, the next 10 years is the most exciting 10 years for PNG coming up. With the 5 projects now maturing into FID construction and development stage. Pogra, I did not announce that date today, but New Pogra Limited announced the date today, and the chairman of New Pogra Limited, which is Sarimu, MD Sarimu, did announce that 22nd of December, Pogra will be fired up. And that's coming from the operator of the SML-13, which is Barrick, remains as the operator.
Yeah. You must be delighted to finally have a date on that project. Yeah?
So with Pogra coming on stream in a better arrangements, who would have thought a few years back, and you asked me the question, what is your most satisfying moment? People thought you cannot negotiate a better outcome. But in the last 4 years, there seemed to be a dark spot, there seemed to be a delay, but they won't delay. The project negotiations take time. When COVID-19 shut down, everyone was closed in. 2020 come around, and different stages of project negotiations that are running at the same time. We must not forget, no government before my time has done 4 or 5 projects simultaneously.
Yes.
So we've set up specific office for our state negotiating team that has mobilized our additional project analysts, our legal team, including our state legal teams, and a host of technical competencies to also run and negotiate for state and process all these different project negotiations. So Papua LNG is running on schedule. At the start of 2019, when we took office, there was some winners we picked from Papua LNG, especially in terms of better defining local content. Some will relate to us as delaying Papua LNG, but far from it. It's not a government sanctioned delay. The project partners have their own timetable and schedule. So in between 2019, when the petroleum retention license and agreement was signed by the previous government, and up until today, there's been work to get the FID going. So FID looks certain for next year. Exactly when in next year, we do not know. So with Pogra and Papua LNG moving next year, that's a construction dollar or kina converted, and production dollar or kina converted both for Papua LNG and the new Pogra would be a foundational basis of the next wave, the next big wave of PNG, the 10 years that is coming ahead of us. What we've effectively done is sequencing Papua for the LNG space, sequencing Papua with Penang back to back. So if Papua FID next year, construction starts, and when construction finishes in Papua, then we migrate the construction to Penang LNG. And if ExxonMobil lines up wildebeest, then after Penang construction is finished, then we get wildebeest construction that comes in. So possibly, there's a high possibility of construction in the LNG space for about 10 years.
That's an amazing set of projects lined up. Prime Minister, can I ask you, one of the features, I guess, of the PNG LNG project was perhaps PNG local business wasn't ready as much as it could have been to take advantage as far as creating local jobs and local business benefiting. How important is it to make sure that this time around there's plenty of local content and local opportunities for local business and also for local labour as well?
Well, local business has been our key focus also in part of our Take Back PNG conversations. When we talk about getting better outcomes from a project, it's not just equity conversation, but it's full benefit sharing in terms of the project pie. And the entire kina or dollar invested in a project, the residual take from PNG must be in the upside, about 50%. Or in terms of the harvest kina or harvested dollar, we take from it about 50%. That's government policy, Pangu-led government policy. Now, the Papua LNG looks certain to honor this one, but it was signed outside of my administration. But certainly Pinang LNG and New Pogra LNG and the Wafi-Golpu MOU that we've signed gives PNG, Pogra gives PNG a 53% take.
Yes.
Wafi-Golpu looks to give us about a 55% take, and also Pinang LNG looks certain to give us, on average length of the project, a 55, 50%, 56% total take in as far as the entire project economy is concerned. So if you ask me, again, going back to your earlier question, what is your greatest satisfaction? Is for me, it looks strenuous, it looked long, it looked glim, but we've been holding our grounds in negotiating well with our project investors. And they've come to fully understand us. It's simply like this. We're coming back to your issue on local participation. Instead of hiring a contractor from outside, if you can hire a contractor from within, you hire from within. So that money, instead of going back out of the country, stays in country. That's what I mean by the total project economy value take. So we're trying to optimize the entire, even from construction dollars to production dollars, anything we could take to ensure it percolates to our local economy, it does percolate. So that business like you and others who have a base in PNG does get the benefit of everything that falls off the table in as far as those projects are concerned. In PNG LNG, when they came in, we had no capacity, so much of the, of course, there was a big wave of improvement in the economy and in our country, but also there were huge capital flights, like construction workers came from Bangladesh, Philippines, etc. And so in as much as possible, we employ locals, we engage local businesses. So the local content aspect of Papua LNG, Pinang LNG, Wafi-Golpu, New Pogra, all has that element. So my reply to you in a long way is that country-ready preparedness, our country's participation in the construction, as well as in the spin-off businesses, as well as post-construction in the harvest phases, our continued participation in ensuring that we optimize, take from any money spent in the economy or produce in the economy. That's important. And the industry starts to appreciate where I'm coming from. At first they were thinking, I'm just fighting them in the equity space, but I said, it's not just equity. Take on a tax, better define royalty, and then the spin-offs in the local content aspect. All in all, add up, we must take about 50%. And because when we take about 50%, the country is safer. We plow back more money into the infrastructures, into law and order. And most projects, for instance, in Papua LNG or even Wafi-Golpu or Pogra, before actual project benefit, state has already put down hundreds of millions in landowner mobilization, landowner area, project area projects. So state make those interventions to water the soil or fertile the soil for investors to have easy access for investment. And state needs to make money. When state has money, then state is able to assist the projects in a big way.
Can I ask you about the non-resources economy? Because I know that's also an area where you're very keen to develop. While there is a saying, a rising tide floats all boats, there are certain elements of the economy, particularly in the agriculture, which may need additional help from government to get going. What's your priority as far as getting the non-resources economy moving in PNG?
Well, if you look at the last couple of years, there's in fact the last 3 years consistently, we've averaged above 3.5% to almost 5% in the non-resource sector growth. This is possibly the first time ever consistently in 3 years in a row where we're posting back-to-back about 3%, 3.5% growth in the non-resource sector. Now that is the level of sort of growth, if not more from that level to a higher level that we'd like to in the non-resource sector, because that's really entrenching a sustainable economy. The resource sector has boom and bust. Construction phase, boom, and if lucky for us in the next, because we've sequenced it to we have construction running for 10 to 15 years, we will sustain this in 10 to 15 years. But long-term sustainability of the economy is to make sure that that hit in the economy is then spread to other sectors in the non-resource sector, so that the service sectors, the agricultural sector, the forestry sector, fishery sector, tourism sector, financial sector. As you possibly also heard from me in my concluding remarks, that if projects get tighter, then local as well as regional financial institutions can also be lending into this, into financing some of these projects. ANZ, Westpac, BSP, combined, they could be lending in a syndicate to finance some of these projects instead of going elsewhere, raising capital. So in all manners of non-resource sector directly, the resource sector becomes a stimulant, and hopefully that's the stimulation in the economy gets passed up and rubbed up to the non-resource sector, so that at the end of construction we come out of it 10 years from today in an economy that is truly diversified and strengthened. So that's the sort of space we're looking at for our country, not just to rely. You know, the ANZ president also did very well. I was better informed today that the last 10 years, after the peak of PNG LNG construction, it just came down and dried for the last 10 years. Now, we don't want that to happen in 2035, 2036, or 2037 when we come out of Penang or Wildebeest construction. We want to be at a plateau and operate at a plateau, if not continue on, because the non-resource GDP sector is functioning and it's in full throttle. So good 10 years coming out for us. I'm super excited with the next 10 years. You and me come back, sit in Sofitel 10 years from today, or in Hilton 10 years from today, you would see a far different PNG than what it is today.